You know what the main event of this show needed? More referee bumps. I don't think we had enough referee bumps. I think we needed about 20 million more. I'm John Renton with the Retro Review, WWE WrestleMania 15, widely regarded as one of the worst WrestleManias of all time and clearly the worst of the Attitude Era. Even though you could argue about when the Attitude Era started, WrestleMania 13 certainly was bad, but it had that iconic Austin versus Brett match. This event had Austin versus Rock, and boy, it definitely kicked off that trilogy that they would have at Mania, even though you could argue Backlash 1999, just a month after this, was a much better match, where The Rock basically would end up turning on the corporation soon afterwards and turning full-fledged babyface, Vince giving them the green light to cheer The Rock on, and boy, did they. But that was a month after this, and this event, boy, you want to talk about events that don't age all that well, this would be one of them. Almost every conceivable bad idea was thrown into this Mania, but honestly, 1999, WWE was rolling, even though WCW had some business going, and like they were still going to do some good ratings. WWE was pummeling them into the fucking dirt because the finger poke of doom and bunch of other stuff that had been building up for a while, so WWE could really do no wrong, even though a couple pay-per-views later, Over the Edge 99, boy did they fuck up. First of all, I resent your tone. Good look there, Vince. Man, 1999. God, you know, it's a year in wrestling that hasn't aged all that well. It's aged like a fine milk left in another fucking universe. Not even in the Milky Way. It's not even milk. It's not milk of magnesia. It's not milk from the milk. It's just, this event, I think it broke me again. See, I've talked about this event in the past. I thought I had actually retro-reviewed it. It turns out I didn't. So I was like, okay, I'm going to dive into this and, Anyway, so they're in the First Union Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Sold-out crowd of 20,276. The Raging Climax. That's what she said. $1.4 million gate. And I will say, despite any criticisms I have, the crowd was pretty lively for, I say, about 3/4 of this show. There was one particular match they were really dead for, and I think you can figure out which one, especially if you've seen the event. And if not, look at the card. Just look at the card and then try to figure out which match the crowd was dead for. It was a Hell in a Cell match. That's what it was, because why not tell you right now before I really rip into that fucking show? Jacqueline, or rather Jaqueline, thank you very much, Derb. I will never unhear it. With Terry took on Ivory with D'Lo Brown. And it was an 80-second match, and I believe I don't know why this was necessarily happening. And I know that they had a D'Lo Brown, D'Lo Brown pairing with the Pretty Mean Sisters because, PMS, do you get it? Do you get it? Jaqueline and Terry. And on the same night that Mick Foley won the WWE Championship, many people forget that they did the whole Terry Runnels miscarriage angle. Poor Terry Runnels. Poor Terry. God, poor Terry. I feel so bad for Terry. And then there was a tag team battle royal where actually it was just a battle royal, and the last two guys, whether they were teammates or not, would go on to face the tag team champions at Mania. Heat, by the way, was filmed just before this. So, just to give you an idea, like they actually, sometimes Heat would be taped and it would be, shown a week or so after. Sometimes they would tape multiple Heats, whatever the fuck they would do. This particular Heat, they were just going to slam people on the goddamn card like Public Enemy, Viscera, Gilbert, Animal, 8-Ball, Skull, Hawk. Hawk was back. Evidently, they decided to just ignore the whole thing of Draws pushing Hawk off of the Titantron. It was really fucking stupid. Scott Taylor, Farouk, Tiger Ali Singh, the Hardys, Midian, Brian Christopher, Steve Blackman, and Bradshaw. This was a match they thought was actually a good idea. D'Lo and Test won. D'Lo and Test. Those guys that had such a rich history of teaming together and everything. Oh, wait, no, they didn't. This is when Vince Russo was just going full on bullshit with the crap he was writing. But guess what? Vince McMahon was able to take the ideas of Russo's and shape them into something presentable, because look what happened in WCW when he was allowed to put stuff on camera. It didn't fucking work at all, even with the other bullshit and the politics going on in WCW. Here to sing America the Beautiful, Boys to Men, boo! No, this is the crowd. I like Boys to Men, but the crowd was booing him because Philly boos just about everybody. Freddie Blassie's voiceover, and, with the video package and everything, I understand this is Freddie Blassie's first voiceover after he died. I kid. But man, everybody ages, and he did pass away a few years after this, but hey, at least they treated Freddie Blassie with respect, as opposed to what I just said right there, even though, how could you not respect a guy that was one of the best talkers and also legit tough? Cole and Lawler on commentary. JR would come out for the main event because he had recently returned from a bout of Bell's palsy. They tried a heel turn with him and Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and another announcer's desk in front of Cole and Lawler. And guess what? It didn't take. Nobody wanted to boo JR. So Hardcore Holly and Al Snow, along with Billy Gunn, were in a three-way hardcore title match. You're wondering, well, why is Billy Gunn in this? Because Billy Gunn had been competing for the Intercontinental Championship recently. Well, Vince Russo had the crazy idea, or somebody had the crazy idea, and Vince Russo probably decided to give it to them, because Russo's a fucking idiot. Hey, let's take Billy Gunn from the Intercontinental Championship picture, put him in the hardcore title picture. Let's take Road Dogg, who can't wrestle a lick to save his goddamn life, and his dad was always better than him, and Road Dogg's heart hasn't been in it for a while, if you know what I mean. And let's put Road Dogg, who, again, can't wrestle a lick, in the Intercontinental Championship picture, and let's just have this match. Okay, so it was not good. There was hockey, stick stuff, because Let's Go Flyers, the Philadelphia Flyers in the NHL. Tables, chair shots of the head. Billy looks the same now as he did back then. I mean, that's training and also other stuff. And Billy Gunn hits Famouser on a chair, but then Hardcore Holly hits Billy with a chair and covers 1, 2, 3. He covers Al Snow. Anti-Semite Al Snow. So, yeah, that was something. So anyway, recaps of Heat and the Battle Royal, and then we get D'Lo with Ivory and Test teaming up with D'Lo against Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett. Tag title match. The fact that this was the last pay-per-view, or the last Mania appearance of Owen Hart, criminal. That's the kind of charges Vince McMahon should have been brought up on, by the way. Criminal charges for continuing the pay-per-view and being cheap and all that bullshit. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on with the Owen Hart situation. Check out my Dark Side of the Ring review if you want to know what I really thought. So, Tess had a shirt, "Guns don't kill people, I kill people." I understand Chris Benoit took that as inspiration for a few years down the road. Deborah never belonged in wrestling. She also never deserved to be hit by Stone Cold Steve Austin. So, this was not good, because it was unlikely tag partners. It was a quick match. It was like 4 minutes, and Owen ends up hitting a missile drop kick, and Jarrett gets jackknife cover on D'Lo, 1, 2, 3. While Terry and Jaqueline come down and argue with Ivory. Why? Because fuck you, because the Attitude Era. So, then D'Lo and Tess slug it out. Then we get a video package on Bart Gunn and Butterbean. The Brawl for All is being revived. Why? Because we are upset at Bart Gunn for winning the Brawl for All. No one's going to convince me otherwise, by the way. And yeah, Bart Gunn had not been presented all that well, besides being a mid-card guy before that, but they revived it a number of months later. And here, Isaac Hayes is in the crowd, and we also had the Mean Street Posse there. They make a big deal out of this Brawl for All thing. There's tons of people around the ring. The Pasmanian Devil, Lenny Pazimanas, probably screwed that up right there. Pazanares, I think is what it was. I mean, I used to watch boxing. I don't remember him all that well. He was clearly in great shape. He was going to be the referee. Kevin Rooney, who was Mike Tyson's former trainer. Chuck Wepner and Gorilla Monsoon, who got a big pop. It was really sad to see Gorilla Monsoon like this. I understand that his son apparently died sometime in 98, 99. I don't exactly remember the timeline. And Monsoon would unfortunately pass away due to, it was cancer or some illness later this year. In 99, just really, really sad. Hence why Heenan's line at the end of his Hall of Fame speech still gets me. There's only one thing missing. I wish Monsoon was here. Hey, that don't fucking get you. I don't know what will. But Butterbean versus Bart Gunn, Brawl for All. This is a train wreck. It should have never happened. This was embarrassing. It was a waste of time. And it was 30 seconds maybe, and Bart Gunn got knocked out. Got actual legit injuries from being, punched out repeatedly. And Bart Gunn ended up going like doing some stuff in Japan or whatever, and actually having a bit of a career resurgence from what I understand. But yeah, they did all that for this. And then a chicken, not the San Diego chicken, but a guy in a chicken suit comes down, and Vinny knocks him out, except he doesn't. He then does a little bit of comedy with the chicken. Who's the chick? It's Pete Rose. Pete Rose is the chicken. So we get heat footage of Big Show and Mankind brawling while Stone Cold Steve Austin's arriving like, "Goddamn Jesus H. Christ, what are they doing, son?" A terrible, terrible Stone Cold impression. Mankind and Big Show had a match. Winner gets to be the referee in the main event. And, well, they did the whole plunge thing like Vader did to Foley when he was Cactus Jack, I believe, at Halloween Havoc 93. The problem is Big Show was heavier. And Foley also had more miles on his body. And also it was in a ring. It wasn't on... It was a bad idea with Vader doing it and Big Show doing it. Show then basically gets a couple chairs and choke slams Mankind through it. And boy, Vince is pissed because that means Mankind's going to be the referee. Even though Big Show beats him up a little bit more, guaranteeing he's not going to be there, Vince is pissed. We get a stretcher job for Mankind as he's taken out. And he's pissed. He's yelling at him, "Don't make any more mistakes, pal. Don't make any more mistakes. God damn it. I'm Vince McMahon. Ha ha ha." But then he slaps him. And then he gets KO'd. And earlier, Big Show had picked him up like he was going to choke slam him, but he didn't. And then Vince made the mistake of slapping and getting KO'd. So, Big Show, after just arriving in the company by, St. Valentine's Day Massacre about 7 weeks prior, he now has suddenly turned. And one of many turns the Big Show would end up having in his career, just in WWE alone. Because he had quite a few turns in WCW. So then Mankind, being stretchered out. Vince was like, "You get me a mobile phone, I want him arrested." Oh, 1999, I fucking hate you for making me feel old. So, Road Dogg was the Intercontinental Champion, undeserving, by the way, because he was never any good in the ring, taking on Val Venus and Goldust with the Blue Meanie and Ryan Shamrock. I always forget that Blue Meanie had a little bit of a run in WWE. Nothing against Blue Meanie. I just always forget about this. And Ken Shamrock was also there. 4-way elimination match for the Intercontinental Championship. So, you have to there are 2 people in. You have to tag the person in that you want to basically cover for you and whatever. And also countouts count. The reason for that is, the reason I say that is later Shamrock and Val Venus are brawling in the entranceway and they get counted out. Because they're trying to rush through this goddamn thing. And then we get Ryan Shamrock accidentally tripping Goldust when she thought that it was Road Dogg because they all look alike to her, I guess. And we get the most devastating maneuver in all professional wrestling, the surprise roll up 1, 2, 3, and Goldust gets pinned. And then he berates Ryan Shamrock like he apparently berated and tried to force himself on a flight attendant on the plane ride from hell. Good job, Dustin. Good job. Atone for your sins, fucker. Maybe here's the thing. We all gonna, and it doesn't give me getting on my soapbox for one goddamn minute, and I don't really care if anybody tunes out on this or if I lose subscribers, but wrestling's always been the carny type of sport, and it's been crazy and everything, but there are good people that have been in wrestling. It's tough to travel on the road miles after miles after miles, not even going 1,000 miles just to get to you tonight, as Vanessa Carlton, the great Vanessa Carlton once said. But you also don't take advantage of people, man, woman, child, it doesn't matter. Definitely don't take advantage of children. You don't take advantage of anybody. And you try to do that shit just because you think you're a big star, you deserve every bit of ridicule, karma, and everything that comes at you. That goes for Dustin, that goes for Austin, that goes for so many other goddamn people out there. It's sad knowing in wrestling that there are so many that you look up to that maybe weren't the best goddamn people. That is really goddamn sad. So anyway, he decides to yell at Ryan Shamrock. Road Dogg is retaining the Intercontinental Championship to the absolute thrill of nobody. And so Big Show is arrested. Okay. And then we get Kane with Chyna. Chyna's going to help Kane against Triple H. Now, wait a second. Chyna, Triple H, why are they on opposite sides? What the hell's going on here? Well, let me try to encapsulate this the best way I can. Triple H had recently done a thing where he'd hit Kane with a flamethrower. And then also Kane had done a thing where he shot a fireball, but ended up hitting Chyna instead of Triple H. That's all stuff that happened leading up to this event, by the way, because 1999 was a real fucking mess. So, we're going to have this match, but first the chicken soup guy attacks. It's Pete Rose, and Pete Rose gets tombstone. Yay! Much bigger pop at Mania 98, by the way, Mania 14, which I just retro-reviewed. You can check that out if you'd like. So Triple H attacks Kane from behind, and China had joined the corporation, so Triple H was dejected. DX was broken up once again, even though DX had been broken up before, and all this stuff was happening, and it was all weird, and nobody had any idea what was going on. Nobody cared at this point. So Triple H tried to target Kane, take him down, but Kane had a bit of a heart because, recently something had happened to China. But then China later shows up, and she puts the steps in the ring. Stupidly, by the way, she puts them up where the bolt part is like hanging up, so she has to move the ropes just to get him under there or whatever. Maybe you should have asked somebody how to do it, but whatever. China was freakishly strong and able to do that stuff on her own. And then Kane gets sent into him, but he does hit a backdrop later outside on Triple H, which was a pretty high backdrop. Body drop. And then he does a choke slam, and then China gets a chair and says, I want to do it. And while wearing 6-inch heels, by the way, that was pretty impressive she was able to do this. I mean, anybody that can walk around heels like that, it's tough, believe me. Don't ask how. But she gets in, waffles Kane with a chair. Oh no, he's dejected, and then has to wait about 10 years for Triple H to hit him with a chair a few times. That causes a DQ, by the way, and then we get a pedigree on the chair. It's all a ruse. They've been flim-flam, bamboozled, hoodwinked. DX is back together. So anyway, Vincent says he'll be special guest referee. Why? Because, fuck you, pal. So then Big Punisher, literally Big Punisher, my God, he was the entire size of the, the Death Row Suge Knight label. That's my contribution to talking about rap for the evening. I don't even think I got that right. I don't even think I got close to it. But he was right there. I mean, is he still alive? Genuine question. I actually thought that he passed away a while ago. So we get the women's match on the show. The main show, by the way. Sable versus Tori for the women's championship. Tori, not Tori Wilson, but Tori the Stalker. Terry Power from, Super Lady Show, the LPWA. Oh, you doing the LPGA, kid? Oh, good old Dusty. God, I miss Dusty. But you want to see one of the worst modern era women's matches? Here you go. And I consider modern era really anything from I would say the last 30 years or so. Because there were really great women's wrestlers. There was Medusa and various others and stuff like that. Plenty in Japan. Nope, they decided to go with Sable. They decided to have Sable of all people. This gutter trash. This undeserving gutter trash. And yeah, I want to use some other words, but I'm just going to use trash because she was. She didn't deserve to ever be in wrestling. I went off on a goddamn rant on the Mania 14 video. You could check that out if you want. But they made her the women's champion when they had Jacqueline. Terry would have been a better champion. Terry was never a worker, but Terry at least had a personality. I don't think Sable could spell personality if you spelled her the letters. But this was embarrassing. This was ridiculous. Tori was never the best in the ring. If you ever see the LPWA stuff, like Super Lady Showdown, that I did retro review, check that out. She wasn't the best in the ring, but she had a good look. And we get a ref bump, botched Sable bomb because it looked like she was going to hit it, and then Tori barely got out of it. Here's Nicole Bass, who helped Sable win. Nicole Bass didn't last very long in WWE. So Sable wins and retains the championship. Fun fact, Sable is undefeated at WrestleMania. 14 won a mixed tag. 15 won this match. 20 won an evening gown match. Vince McMahon deserves to be brought up on capital charges against wrestling for what he fucking did here. So Triple H says DX is back together and X-Pac is going to beat Shane McMahon for the European Championship. About that. Shane with Test taking on X-Pac for the European Championship. So the Stooges ambush X-Pac, but he fights them off. And then the Mean Street Posse and Test keep interfering. A lot. A ton of times. Shane definitely trained hard here, and the match was better than they had any right to be. But they also covered it up with a lot of smoke and mirrors because, there are only smoke and mirrors. And later we get just a bunch of bullshit going on here. What the hell's going on? Test hits X-Pac with the belt. But just for 2. Triple H comes in. He's going to help X-Pac. Nope, he pedigrees X-Pac. It's a double turn. So, it's a fucking double turn. He turns and beats X-Pac. China and Triple H are part of the corporation. after fighting against the corporation for a while, defying authority, and fucking damn it, this show. Not that I was ever, I was never the biggest X-Pac fan, but just this whole goddamn fuck. Video package on Taker and Vince, where Taker even burned Stephanie McMahon's childhood teddy bear. This was stuff they actually thought was a good idea to put on television. And again, WWE could do no wrong by this point. Bossman entrance, Taker entrance, all the spoopiness and everything, and Taker's words are as empty as his soul. Mankind, doesn't need a savior such as you. I totally got that quote wrong, but I totally blanked. So, Bossman versus Taker in a Hell in a Cell match. A rivalry, so drenched in blood and entrenched in hatred, it could only be settled inside Hell in a Cell. Except, no, it's not. This was just Taker and a member of the corporation before they would human centipede themselves together and become the corporate ministry. So yeah, this is one of the worst, this is probably the worst Hell in a Cell match in history. This is worse than Rollins and The Fiend. As much as I hated that match, at least shit happened. It was shit, but it still happened. This was brought to you by punching, kicking, handcuffs, and blood. And Taker eventually won. The crowd was chanting boring. Everybody hated this. It was one of the worst goddamn things that has ever happened at a WrestleMania. And yeah, Taker ends up getting the victory. But then the Brood descends down because Taker does this. And the Brood comes down. They clearly used a better repelling company here than they did over the Edge 99. And they break through and they give Taker a noose. And then he hangs the Big Boss Man. They did a live lynching on wrestling television. Well, pay-per-view, but still, they did a live lynching. A live lynching on wrestling television. Look, I understand the Attitude Era had a whole bunch of bullshit and everything, and there was some stuff that worked, there was some stuff that didn't, like this. And they had an apparatus thing where obviously Bossman was not going to be hung, but boy, he certainly sold it like he was. And then they went right into the WrestleMania Rage Party plug. Okay, we just saw a guy die on camera. All right, let's go to the Rage Party. Let's just move on from that. Oh, wait. WWE did move on from a wrestler dying at their show when they decided to continue the pay-per-view. Don't tell me that Vince McMahon couldn't have afforded to take a fucking bath on that. It still sticks in my craw to this day. All right. Yeah, they hung the Big Boss Man from a cell. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say at all. Cole then introduces JR. He's out for a main event pop, and Vince McMahon comes down. He's going to be the referee. But then the commish, Shawn Michaels, who is a commish, isn't a commish. They're really confused on the rules of this thing because Shawn Michaels, well, let's be perfectly honest, at this point, he needed a lot of help. And maybe the time off did him some good. He just didn't have time off from camera, or from being on camera. But he said, hey, I've got Mike Chioda, even though they didn't say the ref's name. I can make the rules on who is an official in a match. So he's the official. You get back there and the corporation's barred from ringside. Okay. So The Rock comes out. The champion comes out first for this championship main event because that's how it's always done. Especially when the champion's going to fucking lose. Why don't you just telegraph it more? Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out, and Austin has said that he wasn't in the best place at this point because he was going through a divorce and everything, and his wife had gone to England with the kids, and maybe he shouldn't have been an abusive piece of shit, Steve. Maybe he shouldn't have. Maybe, just maybe you shouldn't have done that. Allegedly. I have no proof. Besides the fact that it's on his track record, and that's probably why you would flee the country and take your kids. Man, woman, or child, I don't really care. Of course, if you're a kid with kids, I'm wondering how you're... Never mind. Moving on from that. No DQ WWE Championship match. This needed a no DQ stipulation. Straight up brawl. They brawled all over ringside, into the crowd, to the staging area. They brawled. These two always work well together. I argue again, Backlash 99 was a better match, but this was still really goddamn good. The announcer's table got broken down. We get a rock bottom for 2, and then we get the ref getting hit with the chair because Rock pulls him in the way. In the way. And second ref, Tim White, he gets laid out with a rock bottom. And we get a sleeper hold during that portion forever. Literally forever. That was a long sleeper hold. That was like the one part where it's like, okay, I understand they need to rest, but come on. And then we get a third ref in. Vince comes down, but then Mankind comes down, lays out Vince, and then Mankind is the referee for this. And we get a rock bottom, the People's Elbow missed. And then the Stone Cold Stunner, 1, 2, 3, and Steve Austin is once again WWE Champion. Vince is dejected. Austin celebrates. Earl Hebner's all excited, drinking beer and stuff like that, and, celebrated. It was really funny. I think Austin was trying not to crack up watching Earl do that, and then he punches out Vince to close the show, and there you go. That's it. But still, fuck this WrestleMania. It's fucking ass. It's goddamn terrible. Some of the and I normally would scream, rant, and rave and everything, but it's just going to be controlled anger at this point, because what's the point of getting upset at something that happened years and years and years ago? I've ranted about it before, but this is just really bad. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.